Good afternoon. From beautiful Barcelona, we are talking today about Cisco Data Center Anywhere. And after this session, I hope you get to understand in just 45 minutes all the exciting innovations we have for you to offer in the data center space. With that being said, let's get started. We have a lot to cover today. The very first thing you need to keep in mind is we live in an IT-hungry world. Everything we do is driven by applications. We touch around 3 to 10 applications every single day of our lives. And basically, everything needs to be fast. We want things as fast as possible. We're less patient than ever. The other part is we want things to be easy. Whether we consume them or manage them, it needs to be easier as ever. And the last part, it always needs to be on. In a world where we have music or videos just a click away, we want things to be not only fast, but also reliable. So the same thing, by the way, happens today in an IT-hungry world, which may be delivered by the CIO or yourself as an IT lead. If we consider everything we do to deliver these applications, we have to go from infrastructure, again, no matter where it lives, it can be on-prem, cloud, virtual, physical, containers, all the way to applications, which may be not only delivered with a single click, but also continuously monitored, continuously managed, and again, hopefully optimized as well. And the last part, we always want this business to be on. The new digital business needs to be reliable and always needs to be secure. With that in mind, we are the only company that through performance IT, we can deliver all this on any cloud, on any app, anywhere, and we call it performance IT. We do not need to be bound to a specific hypervisor to run agility, to run security, or to have better operations. Our idea is to run your business anywhere it takes you. With that being said, I wanted to make a quick poll for everyone out there. So whether you're visiting virtually, in this case, from home, on America, or Asia, or even Europe, please take a few moments to understand or to let us know how you are prioritizing your IT initiatives for this 2020. We have multiple options. So please go to pollapp.com/LatamSE and vote for one of these options, please. The first one is, are you thinking about migrating to the cloud? Another one would be, are you thinking about delivering IT services faster? The third one would be, do you want to reduce downtime? Is that something that is constantly hitting you? The fourth one is probably, why not leveraging something like AI Ops or AI, machine learning, and so on. And the other one that hits us commonly is security. Do we have any initiative in terms of security? Are we planning on doing some things like encryption or zero trust? So I'll give you a few seconds to vote so that you can help us understanding what your top initiatives are. In the meantime, keep in mind that, again, everything we're doing in the Cisco Data Center Anywhere story is going to be totally boundless. You don't have to run on-prem, you don't have to run cloud, you don't have to run on a specific hypervisor, as I said. Everything is going to be anywhere your business takes you. So with that being said, I know some of you may still taking your time to vote a little bit, but I'm thinking the other part would be probably to deliver IT services faster. We'll keep the poll open and probably get back to the results at the very end, but let's keep going with the presentation. The good news is, no matter which option you chose, there's something for you in today's presentation. So let's get going. With this, I am going to invite Jeff Allen, Director of Data Center Networking in the Worldwide Sales Organization, to join me to talk about a very important topic. We're going to be doing 3 different categories in today's presentation. And the first one that I think every customer out there you talk to on a daily basis, Jeff, is agility. So how do you see agility driving or transforming today's IT?
Yeah, so thanks, Carlos. Agility and innovation go hand in hand. And if you're unable to be flexible and you cannot adapt quickly to change, then bad things happen. And the list of companies that have done this is very long and famous. A couple of names that come to mind would be Radio Shack or Borders Books is another one. Probably one of the most famous ones is Blockbuster, that they were unable to change. These companies are not unwilling to change, it's just sometimes there's something in their infrastructure that is unable to adapt to the changes that are happening so quickly around them.
Correct.
So Cisco has been pretty good at this game. We've been very skilled at making sure that we are introducing disruptive technologies, changing industries, and we've done this over and over again across compute, we've done it in storage, we've done it in voice. We have a good track record of doing this, but it's not by accident. And our internal infrastructure is set up to be able to adapt very quickly to these changes. John Chambers was very famous for always saying that he would predict, companies that would be disrupted or industries that would be disrupted and sort of giving a glimpse of the future. And he would agree with us today if he were here when we say that 40% of the Fortune 500 won't be there in 10 years. And when I say won't be there, I mean they won't be on the list, they won't be around 10 years from now, which is incredible to think about. And all that has to do with a lot of these companies are not agile enough.
Right.
And that is the key metric that CIOs need to be looking at today is my company set up to be flexible, and can I adapt quickly when maybe I want to because I see the industry changing, or maybe I feel like I need to because a competitor is stepping in my space.
Correct. No, so it's either innovate or die, I guess, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, Jeff, let me ask you this question. How are we innovating at Cisco? How are we helping our customers be more agile?
Okay, great question, Carlos. So, we're doing two things that we feel like if customers would focus on these, they would not fall susceptible to some of the companies that we've mentioned. That is that applications have to be able to be deployed very quickly at anywhere, on any cloud or in the data center, whatever the case may be. A lot of the applications are cloud ready, but the ability to deploy them, they need to have an infrastructure that's set up for the applications to get out quickly. So,
right.
And, sort of the new DevOps model that you're seeing in lots of places today. The second is infrastructure. So, the compute, network, storage, they all need to have a good automation story around them, because automation is really a big driver and is a big key to this whole agility story.
Correct. Well, let me then show a little bit of what we're doing today.
I'd love to see it.
And probably we can start with the applications. You mentioned the first one of two, right, about focusing on agility, and the first thing that we wanted to do is drive or deliver applications, whether they are the classical applications, your SAP, your ERP, all these applications that are used to maintaining the business up and running, and the other ones which are cloud native applications, which are made for transforming the business down the road. And then, well, we would like whatever path you are in, right, the current applications or the cloud native ones, we want all of those to be a click away. And again, it doesn't matter where you want to place them, if it's on the cloud, if it's on-prem, if it's physical or virtual, and so on. So for that, I wanted to introduce Cloud Center. So that's the very first solution we'll take a look at. And the idea with this is to have applications and services a click away. So let me go to a demo, and really quick, as you can see, Cloud Center Suite is a SaaS offering where we are basically aggregating all clouds. It doesn't matter if it's physical, virtual, it doesn't matter if it's on-prem or public or even container-based. Just provide your credentials, and with that we will download every piece of offering that cloud has. So for example, things like instance size, the cost that they have, the operating systems they have. Once you have all that on a per cloud basis, we can create a catalog, and we model that once. So imagine having a web server modeled once, and then even having the ability to automatically scale that by saying, let's say I want 10 different instances in peak season, for example, right? Automatically scaling is a huge interest of lots of people. Now, once we model that service once, we can let our users single click and deploy the application. With that, let's put a name to it. And as you see, based on the credentials we provided before, we now can compare between all the clouds we have available. So maybe I want Azure and I compare it to Amazon. Well, as you can see, there's different pricing, different sizes. Same thing with Google, right? Different pricing, different sizes. So in my case, I'm just going to go, let's say for now, with Amazon. Let's click on it on the smallest size, and then let's click on deploy. So again, with a single click, I have successfully deployed my, in this case, online retail store, and the web server that is holding this web page can also be accessed via SSH. I do not need to store any keys, and everything is taken care of centrally, including the cost management. So this is a huge tool, I think, for centralizing in a totally agnostic way, whether that's Cisco hardware or any cloud, the way you deliver your applications. So with that being said, I don't know, Jeff, what you think about this, but you also mentioned infrastructure.
Yes, I did. So let's just take networking, for instance, as part of the infrastructure. There's a lot that goes to it. Like we talked about, there's compute and storage in this as well, but network is one. And when I started, doing networking many years ago, I thought it was complex then. Things like spanning tree and virtual trunking protocol and all of the routing protocols and all these things seemed very complex at the time. But as we fast forward, we realize what the IT administrators have to deal with today are, they have virtual networking, they have cloud networking, there's containers, there's underlays, there's overlays, there's SDN. In fact, virtual networking is a big part of this, and cloud networking is the CSR 1000, by the way. I read that that's the most popular download off of Amazon's marketplace, right? So this is truly important to people. This is a big deal. So this is, if these things can't be, if we can't put all these in a wrapper that makes them easy to manage, then that's a losing battle for that network administrator or that IT department, especially because different groups are sometimes responsible for these different components, right? And some of the things we mentioned, like cloud, that's a different handled by a different group. So we need something that brings all that together.
Correct. So if I hear well, and multiple personas managing multiple things, probably not consistently, right? So how have you seen the evolution of the network?
So we used to do this switch by switch, port by port troubleshooting, and we would SSH into switch 1, we would make a change, and then we'd SSH into switch 2. But while I'm configuring switch 2, I took a phone call, and I forgot to put in one command. So now I have some inconsistency in the network, and I don't know that it's there. There's nothing that goes back and checks that for me.
Right.
That's the type of thing that cannot happen when we're automating configurations. Everything has to be consistent.
Correct. So, well, that's extremely relevant. So let me show you a little bit of what you're talking about with ACI.
Excellent.
So in this case, we're seeing ACI multi-site orchestrator. You have a central point of management for all your networking sites based on ACI, whether they are on-prem or cloud-based. Just by having this, you have automated data center interconnect, by the way. So even extending layer 2 is just a matter of minutes or seconds by having ACI, which is extremely useful in this case, considering it's a VXLAN configuration. The second part, now we move on the site level. Now, every time you add a new switch, usually it takes a long time, right? You rack, you configure the out-of-band management network, you have to configure lots of things. Here with ACI, we automatically discover every single switch you have. So the nice part with this is you have to put a name, a number, or an ID to it, and then you're done. As you can see in the demo that we're showing right now, not only VXLAN gets configured, the IP address, obviously the name, and the automatic discovery of new switches is done exactly the same way. So it's only 3 clicks every time you add a new switch. The other part is very complicated things like BGP and VXLAN with MPBGP. Well, you just put an atomic system, a number, and you're done, right? Other things like DNS or NTP, things like, as you said, you were configuring on a per switch basis, probably configuring it one switch, and the next one you would not configure it consistently. Well, you just have to do it once. Same thing with best practices. We have simplified quite a lot the model so that the wizard does everything for you. The other part is not only you're centralizing all the management and the monitoring for all your physical switches, as we can see right now. As you can see in the diagram, we see the apex, the control points, the spines, and leaves. But also, every port is now centrally managed. You can see if it's red, if it's green, if it's yellow. Everything is centrally managed, as I said. The other part is we didn't stop at the physical network. We wanted you to see things like virtual networks. You mentioned Microsoft like Hyper-V or VMware or Red Hat or OpenStack. Well, we need to see that virtual network connectivity and how healthy that is been performing. And the last but not least part is containers. We said we might be moving to cloud native. So again, all the way to the containers. If you have Kubernetes or Cloud Foundry or OpenShift, we will make sure that you see all the way to that specific portion of the network. So again, we're trying to cover the whole thing, again, from a single pane of glass in terms of network.
So this is pretty awesome. If I had both of these products, one to control my applications, another one that can control my infrastructure. If I'm a company like Netflix, I'm not going to be disrupted. Clearly these things would help me stay ahead in the game. So
at least the network won't be the one to blame for slowdown.
Exactly, yes. Exactly.
So Jeff, I want to ask you another thing. There's another piece of equation, which is compute and storage.
Yeah.
So how have you seen that evolve?
So we announced UCS 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago, a product that revolutionized the way the server management was done. Customers loved it. It was received very well, and it sold very well. Still sells very well today. We introduced a lot of new products along the way, and some of those were backup servers. We did rack servers after we did blade servers, and then we did storage servers with HyperFlex after that. And so there was a definite need to bring all of this into a common management platform, and UCS was good at that. But what we needed was something if I had multiple sites that made this very easy to manage. And we did an acquisition after UCS of Meraki, and that led us to some ideas, some things that we could do much better than the way UCS was doing them currently, kind of a site-by-site basis. So
Right. And then I think this also evolved, right? I guess we took some other models. What have you seen that we can do to help our customers then?
Yeah, so by introducing Cisco Intersight, this gives us now a cloud-based management platform that all of my servers can log into. I believe we have 460,000 current users on the platform today, which is just unbelievable. So, it is very much a Meraki. In fact, we have this term where we call it Merakified, that we have sort of Merakified what UCS does.
Correct.
And kind of a cool term for it.
Well, that's great. And the best thing, just to start using it, is for free, right? It's free.
Yes.
So,
awesome.
well, why don't I show you a little bit of how this actually looks like?
I'd love to see it. Yep.
So let's log into Intersight. Let's take a look at it. And the very first thing is that we have the central dashboard where we can even see things like power consumption, right? All inventory of every server you have. So we can start probably with things like rack servers. We can see things, for example, like graphical representation of every component of every server we have. So for example, in this case, we can see if the disks are fine, if there's an alarm, if there's something I should be concerned about. Again, everything from a central point of view, right? So this is extremely important. The other part is that you get also visibility for blade servers as well, and hyper-converged ones. So we got predictive analysis how soon you're going to run out of storage, and not only that, but you're also going to be able to install everything, in this case with HyperFlex, whether that's edge or data center versions, directly from the cloud. So again, extremely huge in terms of automation. The other part is the devices, right? Not only can you do servers, the traditional ones, now we also support other things like Apex from ACI, or integration with UCS Director, which may be a tool for automation that some customers are doing. So we're gradually introducing UCS Director integration as we move on. Last part that I wanted to cover before I move on to the solutions is the operating system. We will even install the operating system directly from the cloud for you. And the other part that we're now announcing is we can even create with a single click solutions like Kubernetes installation and SD-WAN. So as you can see, Intersight is a very powerful tool so that we can manage everything directly from the cloud.
Not just servers, not just converged, not just hyper-converged, but all the way down to doing the operating system installation on the servers itself. It's pretty impressive.
That's right. So I think, Jeff, I really wanted to thank you because I think we're taking agility to a next level.
I agree. Yep.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention before.
I think you've covered it pretty well here, Carlos. So thank you for your time.
Jeff, thank you for being with me today. So let me see if I learned well what Jeff just talked about. And the very first thing is we're driving agility in two fronts. The first one, application delivery. So we are building Cloud Center so that you have a central point of modeling and even delivering the services that you want on any single cloud, plus your own tools. This is very important. Everything we do at Cisco not only has built-in automation, but it also has a do-it-yourself. So if you want to use Terraform, or you want to use Ansible, or you want to use other things like Puppet and Chef, we can always include that as part of your offering. So again, the result of that, we eliminate thousands of lines of code. We decrease end user wait time, and the best part, we can drive new services to transform our business faster than ever. The second part, network automation. We covered how ACI not only controls and manages cloud, but also multiple sites with Data Center Interconnect. We have the easiest Data Center Interconnect solution in the market. And the last part, we can move freely VMs from one site to another one, decreasing network provisioning times by 80%. The last part we saw is that with Intersight, plus again your own tools, if you wish, you can do compute and storage faster than ever. Even we can install solutions like Kubernetes or SD-WAN with a single click. So again, stay tuned because Intersight is doing a major uplift and we're going to announce more in tomorrow's keynote. With that, let me now introduce my good friend, Danny McGinnis. Danny.
Hello, Carlos.
Great to see you,
Hi,
Dan.
everybody. Thanks for having
Danny,
me.
Director for Marketing. So, Danny, We talked about in the previous section how we're building things faster than ever through automation, how we're driving agility in any cloud. But once we're running, things will break.
Absolutely.
And then that's a part that I usually find very amusing, I would say, how we fix the stuff. So what's your take on that, so that you talk to a lot of customers every day in this front?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, you're spot on, absolutely. You know, we always come down to this kind of this blame game in networking, right? Especially, I mean, I lived on the customer side for many, many years, and a big part of my day was, you know, that troubleshooting and trying to find out, especially doing root cause analysis, like looking backwards and saying, hey, why did something happen, right? Or what caused this problem? And really trying to find out why it went wrong to avoid it happening again, right? So that root cause analysis piece is very difficult.
Right.
So let's just talk a little bit about, I mean, you asked me to kind of double down on this. I mean, I think that whole concept of, you know, finding where the problem is right now is really coming down to the fact that there's so many different teams and so many different components to what's happening on the network.
Right.
When I was, you know, 10, 15 years ago, a lot of these things were done in silos, right? You built the servers, you built the switches, you plugged the server in, it didn't move. Now things are dynamic, they're all over. They're moving out to a cloud, they're coming back. Applications are just, the pace at which they turn up has changed so dramatically. And so with that, you know, really trying to pinpoint and find that needle in the haystack is not an easy thing to do.
It's always a network, right?
It's always the network. It's always the network. So anyway, I think you know, a big part of where we're going at Cisco is obviously the innovation in the hardware and the infrastructure is a big component, but the solutions on top and the applications that we've been developing to really there's really two aspects to it. Analyzing the data and being able to store it somewhere centrally.
Right.
And that isn't just the network data, it's the telemetry data that's happening in the application, in the compute, in the cloud, in the network. Putting that into a common set of repositories so that multiple components can then go learn from it, correlate it, and give back very intelligent remediation advice or proactively fix it.
Correct. Well, so with that, probably I can show you something,
I think
right?
you're going to take us through a couple of these, right?
Sure.
All
In
right.
the first section, we talked about networking with ACI, single pane of management for all things networking. We talked about Intersight, single pane of management for compute and storage. Now let's talk about App Dynamics. So we want a different lens in this case, which is the application view. So App Dynamics, it's a SaaS or on-prem offering that shows the whole business logic on an application perspective. For example, in this case, maybe we want to see how our users are experiencing our applications. We want to see probably if they are accessing on one country or another one, or if they're having issues on one of them. For example, because the network is too slow. Or maybe they have a specific browser version or a specific device that they are not running the right application on. So we want to know as developers or as application owners if something goes wrong in any of these flavors. So we have full visibility all the way from the end user. I don't know if an application has crashed on you, but this thing happens as well. So it would be great to have visibility even at what crashed in particular after what the user did. So we have the full visibility even into crash information. The other part is the server information. We want a central pane of management so that we know how my servers are used in terms of CPU, memory, networking, volumes, processes. We have everything we need just from App Dynamics. And even if we are using containers, we have visibility at the container level. So again, it doesn't matter where you live, if it's cloud or not, we will get the visibility you need. Last part, the database. So in the database, we will see all the queries that were done, as well as how much CPU every query is taking. So we start with the user, went to the server, now are in the database, and we can translate this into business value. If somebody is not checking out at the very last page because of an error, we can see it right away. Or even better, if we're migrating to the cloud and we want to compare how we're performing pre-cloud and post-cloud migration, we have this tool to see it. So there's a lot of value in having analytics built on top of App Dynamics. As you can see, we can see the whole business logic and the whole business value. And if something goes wrong, we can fix it. In this case, we have a better together story as well. We talked about, say, ACI. We transport the network, we transport applications on top of a network. So we have an integration with ACI here, where you can see the latency, the errors, every connection you have, and even troubleshoot directly from App Dynamics by cross-launching into ACI. Again, the nice part about this is that based on the application visibility or the application layers that we built originally, we now know if the web front end is the one that is experiencing some slowness, we know exactly where each endpoint is located and what the error is about. If it is the network, or in this case, it is the memory, right? So again, unified management for both networking and applications. So I don't know how, did you like that part, the app dynamics part?
I do, and I'll tell you, whenever I talk to customers about this, the feedback we get is just that extra level of visibility. You know, having that data and being able to do that level of correlation is is such a time-saving thing. I don't even know how you can operate a network without some of that, frankly, anymore. Yeah. So I think the other thing you wanted to talk a little bit about was kind of this move. We've been talking a lot about going from reactive to proactive.
Correct.
So kind of along the same lines, a lot of what is changing, or I would say some of the coolest innovation coming out of data center space at the moment, is really this ability to collect data and analyze the data, and then also use it to make useful remediation insights. So we have this new tooling called Assurance and Insights. It's kind of a package with network insurance and our network assurance engine and network insights. And really the biggest piece here is just that we're able to do things ahead of time. So being able to help you make better decisions around everything from software upgrades to what resources are being used or how much resources are being used in your data center. Anyway, I know you're going to take us through it, so why don't you jump into it?
I guess the best troubleshooting is no troubleshooting, right?
Absolutely.
So let's take a look at how that works. So basically, going back to my ACI central dashboard, in this case, I have an anomaly detection and advisory message that says, go to your site on Miami, in this case, which has an upgrade advisory. So we're getting an advisory because there's a potential vulnerability that may hit my environment. So in this case, we can tell you as a customer, well, basically there are these two devices potentially affected. Again, nothing has happened yet, but they may affect your environment based on your configuration. We don't want that to happen. But before we upgrade, we want to know the impact of that upgrade. So we can verify if I will be impacted if I start upgrading. In this case, I can see the impact of change before it happens. Next, we can perform the upgrade with full confidence that there will be no impact, right? So we automate the upgrade directly from ACI by doing one node first, one of the two affected nodes, then the second one, again, fully upgraded, no disruption at all. And the last part is how do I make sure that everything is working after the upgrade the way it was before. That's where Network Insights covers that, because now we can compare the before and the after. If something didn't go right, well, that's great, because now I know immediately. I don't need to wait for the user to be complaining about, hey, my app is not working right, and then go fix it.
Yeah.
All this is proactive, right? So proactive advisory, proactive network management, if you will, and everything is done directly from ACI. So again, I think this is something that we have changed quite a lot in terms of
there's a couple really big pieces that you mentioned there too, just around a change in general.
Yeah.
So if you think about, we've been pretty good as an industry at automating changes, right? Scripting, off-the-shelf tools, homegrown tools. But the time that you spend modeling a change in a development environment, or all the post-validation work you do,
Correct.
is really eating up the majority of the time. So what I love about what these tools are doing, it's really helping out in that before and after, right? You know what the impact is. You can set your change control policies to align better with the business needs.
Correct.
And then afterwards, you're kind of guaranteed that things are going to come back up. Tie that in with AppD, tie that in with some of the other multi-domain integrations we're doing. These are really really time-saving. So,
right, Danny.
So the other thing, I think that actually probably ties directly into cost, right? So, I know we're going to go a little bit into, you're going to take us into CWAM and what we're doing with Intersight next, but I think all of this is really about time saving and how do we cut down on that operational expense that we see, and letting our valuable employees spend their precious time on the R&D side of the business and not waste it in troubleshooting things that just not a good use of their time, frankly.
Yeah, and just think about all that CPU, all that storage, right? Just as we covered network before, and now we go compute and storage.
Yep.
All those wasted CPU and memory resources
Totally.
that are not even used, right? So what we came up with, by the way, it's called Intersight Workload Optimizer, right? So the nice part about this is that embedded on top of Intersight, and as one of those modules, we're continuously optimizing and right-sizing the applications, again, based on AI and ML. So not only we have that for networking, we have that for CPU, memory, and even in a cloud-agnostic way, as you will see in a minute. So should we take a look at it?
Yeah, please.
All right, so let's go back into Intersight. So logging into Intersight, now we have a new dashboard for it. That's what we will be announcing tomorrow, so I don't want to spoil that. But basically, the first thing is this is totally agnostic. We can just add the credentials of any resource you have. Any hypervisor, any storage, any network, any cloud. It doesn't matter, just provide your credentials, and from there, we will start analyzing how you are behaving or your infrastructure is behaving today, and providing you with specifics on how you can optimize not only your investment, but also your utilization. So in this case, for example, we can see there's congested, a CPU that is congested. In this case, workload optimizer is telling us to move it, or the other use case, among many others, is scale up or scale down resources, like memory or CPU. The nice part about this is that based on these recommendations, the only thing we need to do is now click on the actions we want Intersight workload optimization to perform, and it will be done automatically. Next time, if I don't want to go and click so that it gets performed, I can create automation policies. So I can say, Intersight, next time you want me to move a load because of congestion, just do it automatically. I don't want you to tell me so that I go and click and then perform the action. The other part that is quite interesting, Danny, is we do predictive analysis on your resources. So again, doesn't matter if it's on-prem, doesn't matter if it's on cloud, we will tell you how much more you have till you exhaust your resources, and even how much more investment you may need at some point. Another one that our customers have quite a lot is cloud migration. We can tell Intersight in this case, hey, just move all my VMs to Amazon. How would it look like? Well, basically today, some of our customers try to perform the same analysis, and most of them underutilize or overutilize resources. So if they purchase the same amount of resources at the cloud or on the cloud, that would cost in this case around $22,000. 93 out of that 109 machines are over-provisioned. We will make sure you always run with the right resources you need. Not only that, but we will also tell you where to place them, what the best possible location, how much it will cost, and then also the actions you need to perform in order to move and migrate those loads to the cloud. So again, this is extremely good because this is ongoing. This is not a one-time thing. Yeah. We will always continuously be optimizing things. You remember App Dynamics, right? So the other part is how my infrastructure is impacting my business. And well, a better together story with Cisco comes whenever Workload Optimizer plus App Dynamics build up. And we can, for example, in this case, detect a yellow light saying, well, my business KPIs are not being met, and that is because of infrastructure. CWOM detects it, or Intersight Workload Optimizer detects it, and we can execute the action so that in this case, we scale the memory up. After we do those recommendations, well, basically we're having a self-driven data center, right? We can refresh the window, and now all of a sudden, everything looks green. So again, everything is greater than before, fully automated, and now we have a proactive operations way of doing things instead of reactive. So Danny, what do you think about that? Any last minute thoughts that you have?
Yeah, well, I think, again, there's just so much data out there, and having the tools that can collect it and make these insights and correlation for you, not only are we saving people money, but we're saving resource money. I mean, that's really what a lot of this is coming down to. And more importantly, I think we're offering our customers the ability to give their customers just a better service, more uptime, more agility, faster time to value, so that they can start to see revenue, be better, be more competitive. So, I mean, these tools are amazing. I love watching all these innovations come to
Excellent. Tomorrow we will have a keynote and we will have all these great announcements.
It's going to be exciting.
Hopefully they can join.
Tomorrow's a good day.
Danny, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Carlos.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
So let me see what I learned from Danny today. And the very, very first thing is we can monitor everything now. In today's world, it's not a matter of monitoring the network only or monitoring the compute part or the storage part. We have 3 lenses that are fully integrated to one another, and we can reduce the troubleshooting points for application and infrastructure. Second part, we can optimize your investments. Through Intersight Workload Optimizer, we can see ROI within 90 days or less, and we can increase utilization in 20%. We also saw cloud migration and other things that are extremely useful. And the nice part, again, this can live on any cloud, anywhere. It doesn't need to be Cisco gear. The third part, we can enable self-driven data centers, not only with network insights, but also with Intersight Workload Optimizer. Again, we can automatically right-size your infrastructure, get advisories, get, again, assessment and change, which may be network or cloud migration, and simulate some of those. So again, really, really useful to leverage AI and ML to the fullest. So with that being said, now let's move to the last section of this episode, or this, I wouldn't say episode, I want to say this segment. And well, basically I have here my good friend Andrew Tennant, who's one of the regional managers in data center networking in the Worldwide Sales Organization and partner in crime several times.
That's right.
So I wanted to bring you in for one of those topics that is always very important, and is security, right? So how have you seen security play an important role in today's IT?
Well, Carlos, look, as we can see by the folks walking around here at Cisco Live today, right? Security is on everyone's mind. It's absolutely part and parcel of what we do inside and out in every one of our customer conversations. Now, when it comes to the risk and the cost involved, the ROI is obvious, right? The average data breach itself is over $3.5 million just for a single data breach, right? And the massive damages that have been incurred by companies just in the past several years have been just outrageous.
Yeah.
Trillions of dollars lost, right? So the good news is there's a built-in reason to have these conversations, because the downside is so substantial.
Oh man, I know. I mean, these hackers are becoming more and more sophisticated every single time. So what are we doing to protect our customers, Andrew?
Yeah, so from our standpoint, when it comes to the data center, right, you can't secure what you don't see, right? So first and foremost, we have to understand what's actually going on. And to do that, we use titration as the foundation, right? Titration is like turning the lights on in the data center. We can see the flows, we can see the patterns, we can see the traffic. And once we have that and establish that framework, then we can begin to act upon that. Okay. And that's crucial, because what it allows us to do is, in an intent-based networking approach, we can take what we've learned from that titration approach and apply it to workloads both in the infrastructure itself, tied into anything going on at layer 4 through 7, and then ultimately we're going to tie that back into all of policy that goes end-to-end wherever that workload happens to be.
So consistency is key, right? If we don't protect consistently, then I guess we are not protected at all.
Consistency is important, that ubiquity is important, but also, again, that anywhere approach. We have to have a consistent policy regardless of what type of workload and where that workload may exist.
Okay, and I guess we were discussing before the section, encryption is also not a good one, right? So
yeah, so it's great if you have policy telling things, what can talk to what, that sort of thing, but you still have to secure the actual payload and the traffic between these things, especially if they're traversing an arbitrary path through public clouds, private clouds, hybrid spaces. So with that, encryption at all layers is crucially important, and we have solutions for that.
So let me show you a little bit of a demo, how we do layer defense. Sounds good?
That'd be great.
So let's move on to titration. As we can see, we have a security dashboard where we're analyzing multiple things: vulnerability scores, process hash, attack surface, and wait, actually that score did you see from A to B+? So it seems that our forensics score just went down. So it seems that there's an endpoint, in particular the first one, that their vulnerability score is now at 50. So, well, we can double click there. By the way, it can be living on top of Amazon or any cloud. Again, this is totally agnostic to the hardware it is living on. And then we can get the full visibility of every command, everything that happened inside that workload. So that's really good, because now we can see there, if you can see as well, that there's this process, in this case, Tomcat, that's a web service, right, that just executed this command called wget. Wget is a download command. So basically, my web service process is downloading something from the internet.
It shouldn't be doing that.
So that's a remote code execution vulnerability. In this case, they are downloading this program called Minitools. So the nice part with titration is that now we can explore every single flow that has happened from in a historic standpoint. So let's take a look a little bit deeper into it. And we can probably say, hey, I want to see titration, every flow containing the recently downloaded program, which is called Minitools. Again, we can see every flow from there, and then we can filter and say, well, I want to see who this is sending information to. Actually, this is an IP in China, by the way. And then we can also see which port it is using. Do you remember that you said that titration performed an initial application dependency mapping to understand who's talking to who?
Absolutely, yep.
Well, we can now compare that communication that we suspect is vulnerable, to my initial ADM, or application dependency mapping baseline. So let's do that. Let's put the source and destination address and the provider port, and as you can see there, it says that it should be denied. So this is happening when it shouldn't be happening. With titration, the only thing that is separating us from being secure is a single click. So we can say, I want you, titration, to enforce policies, and my agent that was reporting all the flows now becomes a firewall.
Yep.
So this is true microsegmentation, no matter where it's running on. Now, we can extend that policy, as you said, on the next layer, which may be the network. So probably you cannot install an agent on a mainframe, or for whatever reason on a server. Well, you can define exactly the same network policy in terms of security now on ACI. Hey, you want a firewall that may not even be Cisco, it doesn't matter. Same policy, just drag and drop and integrate it into ACI. We're totally agnostic and integrate that policy in depth. So with that being said, as you can see, we can see a lot of things with titration. But also, we detect threats. And this is extremely important because we're constantly running threat protection and detection. So based on Talos, our intelligence group, we're constantly comparing the loads within each one of the workloads that are happening and the agents against our intelligence systems. And not only do we do that in titration, but we also do that on intersite. Again, so you're consistently and constantly protected, leveraging the full power of Cisco, in this case with Talos. So I don't know how that looks like to you.
That's fantastic, right? It's the key is find it, remediate it as quickly as possible. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly.
And leverage the power of the broad customer base to be a sensor for your own network. So
Correct.
You can find something somewhere else, bring that knowledge to bear.
So with that being said, I think we're extending that outside the data center, right? So we're going to bring this to the campus and to the WAN, and making sure the policy is consistent, correct? So
Absolutely.
Again, the policy will go anywhere your applications or users go.
And that, what's also important, I just want to come back to one thing we talked about. Let's never forget the simplicity of encrypting traffic everywhere it traverses, right? Because that's so essential, especially as the data lives everywhere today, so do the flows. So whether it's MACsec at the server side, whether it's IPsec out to clouds, whether it's CloudSec itself, right? We need to make sure that we're leveraging our differentiated benefits for our customers' behalf.
So it's a two-way play, if you will, right?
Yes.
First policy from the data center to the campus using ACI, DNA Center, to the WAN using SD-WAN and vManage. And then, as you said, encryption, doesn't matter the cloud, whether that's MACsec or CloudSec at the hardware level, or IPsec all the way to the cloud in the CSRs, right? So, well, it seems that we have pretty much a very comprehensive approach, but what if, you remember back at the beginning we talked about Cloud Center?
Yes.
So what if not only we deliver single-click applications anywhere, but we deliver single-click protected and monitored applications anywhere? And that's where Cloud Center plays a role. So anything we deploy, well, we can, with a single click, install App Dynamics agents. So imagine a single-click application delivered on any cloud, now it's also instantly provisioned, but also instantly monitored with the power of App Dynamics. And the same thing with security. So for example, again, if you want an application to be titration visible, well, just install it with a single click from Cloud Center, and from there, you will have immediate reaction or immediate visibility into it, start doing application dependency mapping and threat protection. So I think that gets us to the very end of our presentation. So Andrew, any last minute thing you want to say?
I think it's, again, it's not a feature or a capability, it's an approach to how we do everything. Security is foundational to what we do, whether it's in the data center, the campus, the WAN, we have to have a consistent policy approach.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrew. So let's finish up with things that I learned today. The very first thing, you cannot protect what you cannot see. With titration, you see every flow, every process, everywhere. The other part is granular visibility, automatically do application dependency mapping,
right.
and forensic analysis.
I didn't want him to be worried because he didn't know I was going to.
Second part is in-depth protection. So we provide not only our workload application and protection, which some of our competitors do, by the way, based on a single hypervisor. We can do it for every hypervisor, any container, at the true workload level, which is the operating system. Then, if it doesn't work for you to install an agent, we can go to the network, and then we can go to your layer 4, layer 7 firewall of choice. So again, the option here is to provide consistent zero trust, no matter where it lives. Last but not least, minimize the threats. So again, we have the full power of Cisco intelligence, so that no matter whether you're running titration and or intersite, we will always detect any vulnerability and reduce that time to remediation. So with that, let me take you to my key takeaways for today. By the way, we kept running the poll for a while, and I have to say deliver IT services faster was the one that won. Then migration to the cloud. So I hope this was in line with what you all learned today. But my key takeaways for you are, one, agility. We need to provide services and we need to provide them fast. So by having built-in automation plus do-it-yourself automation will help you quite a lot in any journey you have. Two, see everything anywhere. We not only monitor everything through 3 centralized point of management, AppDynamics, ACI, and Intersight, but we are also automating and creating proactive operations. And third one, we're consistently secure at the policy and encryption level. So with that being said, all these demos are available on YouTube in Cisco Data Center Made Easy, so please take a look at it and follow us over there. So thanks a lot, and happy Cisco Live, Barcelona.